Welcome in to another edition of the JMU Sports News Podcast. I'm Bennett Conlon, joined by Jack Fitzpatrick, and we have a very special edition of the podcast this week, and we're about 9 hours out from Sabrina Carpenter releasing her new single.
Oh, I thought you were saying that Villanova left the CAA to become part of the Patriot League.
Yeah, a lot of Patriot League standouts joining the Dukes now, with where you got Jalen Sanchez, you got all the Richmond guys. You got the Holy Cross guys.
Yeah, I thought that's where you're going with this. I thought you were segueing in with Sluka in the topic of today's podcast.
It's a Patriot League feeder.
That's true. JMU, that's exactly right. That is exactly right.
And they got McGill from
William and Mary. Wow, really? Patriot League is just a massive feeder for James Madison University.
That's what a lot of people are saying.
And then JMU just can't beat Patriot League teams because Colgate ended, at least my collegiate career, bookended it with a loss in the first round and then a loss in the second round.
They really do need to get Colgate on a future schedule. Like, that's got to be your FCS opponent. You got to just write that wrong.
Yeah, you really do. Like, please put them on the basketball schedule too, so JMU can write that. Do it now though, because Colgate will always randomly have like a 2-year stint of being really good. So get them on while they're down. Kick them while they're down.
That's exactly right. And that's what the podcast is about this week. We're just talking Patriot League.
Yep. So how do you think this impacts the ESPN Plus media deal for the Patriot League when it's time to re-up?
I assume they're up there at the SEC.
Yeah, I do too.
They can retain their members.
Yeah, that's the big if, because we've seen, the CAA fail to retain its members.
Right. I feel like the Big Ten is going to want to go get a school like Colgate.
Or maybe even like a William and Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the question, if William and Mary does go to the Big Ten, do they keep the Commonwealth Cup going with Richmond?
They have a Commonwealth Cup as well?
It might not be called the Commonwealth Cup. But they do have like
really poaching on the UVA Virginia Tech.
Well, I think Richmond and William and Mary call it like the oldest rivalry in the South. I
thought that was North Carolina, Virginia.
They have like another name.
It feels like a lot of thievery going on.
Yeah, but
maybe Virginia's the thief.
Who stole from who? I'm probably getting it all wrong as well, but like they do have things that sound familiar, or like they have a qualifier. Like they have qualifiers in theirs. The oldest Virginia rivalry among private schools east of 95.
Very impressive. So this is the all-important Patriot League podcast, which is also going to become a bit of a quarterback debate. We'll put that in quotes.
Hot takes, first take.
Hot takes, first take. We're talking about Cam Coleman versus Matthew Sluka, which we are excited to dive into, with the caveat that we're assuming Alonzo Barnett is kind of out of the competition because of his knee.
Yeah, so at the Coaches Caravan in Richmond, Virginia on Monday, a person did ask about Barnett's status, which shout out that person, something the media hasn't been allowed to do for quite some time. And Chesney said that he suffered a season-ending injury at the very end of the Marshall game. Now, was he saying that like it was season ending because like he didn't play again that season, right? So like season ending, quote unquote, but it was actually just a rolled ankle. We know it wasn't that because Chesney then also said that he had off-season surgery. Chesney even said that there were points in the season, and I think Delvin talked about this onto the house, where he couldn't move in the pocket. Like he had his ankles double spatted, I think is the terminology. Yeah. But there was a 3-game stretch in the middle of the season where Barnett was a statue in the pocket, and he was going through those injuries. So he played through a lot last season. Off-season surgery. I've heard rumors. I've heard things milling around that he won't even be cleared for contact until the season starts, potentially even week 2 or 3. So he's not even going to be able to participate fully in fall camp, if that is true, which means he's fully behind the 8 ball, because I think me and Bennett both agree Barnett was a great talent, but he desperately needed the offseason to evolve a little bit in certain things, because he was really good at what he was good at, but if he was asked to do anything that wasn't what he was good at, he struggled at times. So an offseason would have been great for him. And he's not getting a full offseason, even with this injury, which I think puts him behind the eight ball, which is my long winded way to say I expect him to take a medical red shirt and miss 2025.
I guess there's the outside chance if they have like really bad injuries that he could say, like, let's say they're undefeated. Coleman and Sluka both go down. It's week 10 or something.
So you have no
Hey,
faith in JC. Interesting.
I think a healthy Barnett would be over JC as, as we saw last season. They have a distinct desire to keep him from passing the ball, it seemed, in the bowl game. So I think he's got to develop too, JC Evans.
Yeah.
So you look at Barnett, maybe if he's healthy at the end of the year, they have other injuries, they have like a playoff berth on the line, maybe he would consider burning it then just to be a part of like this crazy season. But yeah, realistically, he's probably not going to play in 2025, Barnett.
And if he does play, that is awesome.
Yeah, good for him. We're all rooting
Great
for him to
story.
get back.
And also another caveat at the beginning of this before we dive into listener questions first that takes us into our debate. Ben and I both want winning. A college football playoff, I think, is the goal. Maybe it's a lofty goal, maybe it's a too high expectation. But with this roster that they have, they need a quarterback that can put them in the position to win games, enough games to be in the conversation for the college football playoff at the end of the season. Now, I'm a Camden guy. I like the way he plays football. I think I like that more traditional passing attack who has a threat on the ground. You're more of a Sluka guy. And I don't think Bennett would be upset if Cam Coleman goes in and wins a ton of games. I wouldn't be upset if Sluka does the same. I want to see winning. Like that's the end of the day. And it's all about preference. And my preference is right. Like I'm correct. And I have to prove that to Bennett today. But I do want to say that as a caveat. I think Camden starts. I love Camden. I think what he does, his growth from I think Myrtle Beach Prep to Richmond,
Yeah.
battling with Kyle Wickersham, like his journey, I think a lot of JMU fans can get behind, and he has the abilities to be a high end quarterback in the Sun Belt. Sluka, I mean, he quit on his team at UNLV. What else can I say?
Sluka's a dog. Camden's a dog. It's probably the best competition we've had in a few
It's
years.
the first real competition.
I think Barnett McLeod was legit.
I I still have my
Like I don't
doubts.
understand how he was. Like that was a confusing how it played out, but I imagine that
Well,
was
the
fair
media
to
knew
go
about it
through.
all along.
Right, right. But I assume it was competitive throughout, and obviously Brian Shore, Connor Mitch was legendary.
So
People,
some even thought Connor Mitch would lead JMU to a national championship.
I thought he could be a dog, but he was not the dog. Brian was the dog. But this one, I think they're both dogs. So I'm a Sluka guy. You're a Coleman guy.
Rough, rough.
We want to start with listener questions and slowly weave in our arguments, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it.
Okay, let's start with here's one that I think is a good one from Steve Lockard or Lockhart. It really depends on who you are, where you're from, your dialect. If Coleman is the best quarterback, Camden Coleman is the best quarterback, how about Sluka in a Taysom Hill role may enhance his chances to play at the next level? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I like the kind of back end to it because so many people have asked this question in terms of like, will there be packages for him? If Cam's the starter, then they're going to have packages for Sluka, which I'm starting to believe might actually be the case. Like, I think they will run like a two quarterback system similar to like the bowl game based off of Chesney's comments in the coaches caravan. Like, he was really high on the fact that they were like, in the bowl game, we'd run Billy out there, and then the defense had to figure out how they could stop the pass. Then the next drive, we put JC out there, and they had to figure out how to stop the run. Some drives, we put both of them out there, and the defense didn't know what to do. And he was saying that, and I was like, I don't think that's how defense works, Chesney. I know I'm not the coach, and you're the coach, but like, regardless, I like the back end of this question. Could it enhance his chances to play at the next level? Maybe, and maybe if like the thing is with this team, there are so many running backs. There are so many wide receivers. There are a good amount of tight ends, like some interesting ones of tight ends. I don't see where Sluka gets run as like a skill position, Swiss Army knife, Taysom Hill type, Like that's taking away carries from Petaway, Mallory, Io, Wayne Knight, Jordan Fuller. It's taking carries away from them. If he's like a weird outside like tight end receiving threat thing that like Taysom Hill kind of is, That's taking away opportunities from DeGeneiro, Landon Ellis, Jalen Sanchez, um, the new Braden Wisnowski. It's just interesting.
Yeah, that would, I guess my thing is like, if Camden wins, do you think there's going to be a Sluka package, like a
Y-
Wildcat package?
yes.
If Sluka wins, do you think there's a Camden package?
No.
That's why I think Sluka's the starter. Because that's my like whole argument basically. Is like
I don't agree with that argument at all, though.
he's so good at running that
Yes. So that's why but
he
he's
has
not that
to
good of a
play.
passer.
He is though. He is. That's where people I think are off. Like to me, the gap between him and Camden as a rusher is bigger than the gap between Cam and Sluka passing. Like Sluka has to play. He's that good a runner. So I don't think they're going to stick him in like a weird here's 7 carries a game role. I think it's going to be like you're getting 65 snaps.
You think so? You
I
think
think he's
he's
the
that good of
dude.
a runner that his running ability outweighs some of his deficiency? Because, yes, he's a fine big play thrower. But do I trust him on 3rd and 4 to hit the slant?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. Like Coleman's better at that stuff.
Much better at that stuff.
He's better at that stuff. But
Mm,
Sluka can throw a slant. Yeah, he can throw a slant. Like you go back and watch some of his games, he hits slants. He's a great deep ball thrower. Camden Coleman's a better passer. Okay. He is a more like efficient guy in the intermediate short throws. He's better when blitz too, which I think is like maybe his strongest selling point is like against the blitz. Camden Coleman was unbelievable last year.
yes.
I think Sluka might be the best G5 rushing quarterback, maybe outside of Blake Horvath at Navy.
Rushing quarterback, yes, but his passing inefficiency at UNLV last season is something to be worried of.
The more I look at it, the less I get worried.
He had a 66 PFF grade on short passes.
Yeah, but how many
He
short
had
passes did
he
he
had
throw?
he had 15 attempts, which
That's
is
like
this.
nothing.
He only threw 20. He threw 20 deep balls.
That's what I'm saying. He threw 48 passes. He
Okay, so
barely
then
threw the
in
ball.
2023, his worst graded passing was anything 9 yards or less. He had a
Okay.
71.3 short yardage PFF grade and a 66 PFF grade behind the line of scrimmage.
Both
He's
above average.
Yes, but when you look at Camden Coleman in the same thing, Camden Coleman is better.
Yeah, he's better
Like
on like
much better.
short. What's his grade?
78.5 in short passes. Matthew Sluka is 71.3,
That's not a crazy difference.
10% better.
Well, it's not like a percentage, is it? It's like a little grading. It's 7%. Give my guy some love. 78, 71.
71 to 7. 71 to 78 is plus 7.
Yeah.
10% of 70 is 7, right? Am I doing my math wrong?
Wouldn't it just be the gap between 78 and 71?
Which would be 7.
Yeah. You
And
you
10.
round it up to 10.
No, we're doing the math so wrong here. A
I'm saying
10% increase would be 10% of 70 is 7. Is
but
10
like complete if your completion percentage
All right,
is
we're getting so
78,
off the point here.
71.
We're getting so off the point.
Regardless, he's Camden Coleman's a better short passer, but I don't think Sluka's like deficiency is that big of a gap.
Okay, okay.
But I also don't really fully understand the difference between a 78 and 71 short PFF grade, to be honest. Like I don't know what that really means. I know that he's better at it.
I know Camden is better at it.
I
I,
don't know
I
exactly what goes into the
but
short passing grade.
I will concede to the point that Sluka is that much better of a rusher that on 3rd and 4
He's
he may not have to pass to get the
probably not
4
gonna,
yards.
yeah.
So
Well, I also like I don't like it, but starting kicker transfers, you get a guy who has less range, like 3rd and 4 to me is 2 downs if you're like near
yes,
midfield or inside.
that's another good point. Yes.
I just think his running is so exceptionally good. And I think his UNLV stuff last year, I was looking through it, was a little skewed, but I found this one stat that got me super excited. Okay, so I was looking through last year. There were 9 FBS teams that had a quarterback who ran for 800 yards or more, like one individual quarterback. There might be
Yes.
some that had combined. Of those teams, so 9 teams, They won 73% of their games, so they were 87-31. They won three conference titles, and they had one team, Notre Dame, make the playoffs and play for a national championship. So three of those key teams kind of bring down the winning percentage. New Mexico, which had a preseason win total of 1.5, ended up winning 5 games with Dampier, who's now at Utah. They could not play defense. They simply could not play any defense. But their offense was electric with their star quarterback. You look at Washington State, which went 8-5, so they take it down a little bit. But I think people are pretty pleased with the 8-5 season. Their quarterback's now at Oklahoma. And Vanderbilt went 7-6. Preseason win total was 2.5. So they win 7 games. They beat Alabama. So I
They
took those
did?
three teams out because Washington State conference switch, whatever, or I guess not even conference switch, just conference
Oh,
abandonment.
interesting. You're changing you're omitting information that worsens your argument.
No, no, no,
Interesting.
no. I'm taking it out because Vanderbilt, like
No,
winning
I
percentage, I
know.
don't think
Yes.
is a fair. Washington State, I probably could have kept in, but like New Mexico was supposed to suck. They ended up playing better. So 5-7 for most teams is like that sucks. But for New Mexico last year was like,
Who
wow,
who is
we're
expected to
stoked
win
about this.
one game?
Yeah, so they're pretty excited, I think, about doing that. So if you look at the 6 teams, excluding those three, they won 86% of their games, 3 league championships. So that's Army, Jacksonville State, and Ohio all won league championships. And then you have Notre Dame in the playoff. And the other two teams that didn't do it were Navy and UNLV. Actually, hilariously, Haj Malik Williams replacing Sluka ran for like 850 yards despite not starting the first 3 games, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous. So they had they had a scheme that was pretty nice for quarterbacks, at least for running the ball. They won 11-3. Navy was 10-3. So those two teams 21-6. They had 3 combined Power Four wins. Navy beat Oklahoma in the bowl game. UNLV's, I guess, P4 wins were both with Sluka, so it wasn't actually with the quarterback who got over 800. Sluka had like 250, so combined they were up over 1,000. But like the if you have an elite rushing quarterback, it's so hard to be bad.
How good were all of those quarterbacks at passing the football as well? Were they sub 50% completion percentage?
I mean, two of the guys are service academies, so they're essentially not throwing it.
Yes, that's fair.
And when they do, it's like deep
And
balls.
then Riley Leonard was actually very good.
Riley Leonard's a solid passer, sure. UNLV, Haj Malik Williams, he completed 59% at
Okay, so
UNLV.
my arbitrary cutoff, he's better than.
So yeah, I mean, he completed more than 50%. He was down. Ohio, don't remember the exact completion percentage. I don't think Parker Navarro was a great passer. Let me double check on Parker Navarro for you to make sure I have that correct. He completed, I mean, his passing stats are pretty bad. He had 13 touchdowns and 11 picks and completed. He decent completion percentage, 66%. So I like his completion percentage is not great, but like half his passes were deep bombs.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch the Kansas game, which I was doing this morning, very normal behavior. Sluka was pretty good in that game. He had 2 deep balls that he threw perfectly that were dropped that would have gone for huge gains. He had one deep ball he missed over the middle. And then like the other thing with Sluka though that I think doesn't get talked about enough with UNLV is people are like, Haj Malik Williams came in and he kept the offense rolling, he kept them rolling. It's like, well, yeah, because he didn't play 2 Power 4 defenses in 2 of his 3 games. Like I think that's unfair when they're like, oh, he kept cooking. It's like, yeah, because he was playing Mountain West competition. So I went on PFF. Sluka of his games, two of UNLV's 3 worst pass blocking games where Sluka starts, and 2 of their 4 worst run blocking games where Sluka starts. So like the offensive line played a lot better against Mountain West competition. I feel like his numbers would have been different. I think he still would have been below 60% for sure completion percentage, but could have gotten over 50% if he had the Mountain West
Yeah,
schedule.
that's fair. Using last year as the only year to grade Sluka is a bad faith argument because it was such a small sample. And I just like using that because I mean, it's pretty jarring that his completion percentage last year in 3 games was 43.8%. But like you said, In those 3 games, he had 6 big time throws, which was 12% of his passes. He did have a 5% turnover worthy play rate, which would have been, if he kept that, the highest of his career. But if you look at all of his FCS starts, the dude was extremely good at taking care of the football. His career high was 5 interceptions in a single season. His career high in turnover worthy plays is 4.6% in 2021 when he was his first year starting. I mean, Sluka is a good quarterback. He's not a great passer, but he is a
Yeah.
good quarterback and a good decision maker. I like the fact that Camden Coleman is a better, like, just pure passer. But again, I do understand your point where Sluka is that much better of a runner. As it stands now, Camden Coleman did say he was working on his athleticism essentially during the offseason. So that could change it. But I see what you're saying. Let's go to another question. How long of a leash, this is from Don Palumbo, how long of a leash do you think the coaching staff gives to whoever wins the starting job? If this Weber State game starts poorly, how quick is the staff to go in a different direction?
This is a
So,
great question
because
because
like
they're both so good.
everything we just said is like Cam's the much better passer, but it pays to have an elite level rusher as your quarterback.
Yeah.
But they seem to be pretty closely aligned in terms of the ceiling it gives to your team. So how long of a leash do you think?
I guess I'm going back to last year where like the offense completely stalled against ULM. It completely stalled against Georgia Southern. Like I don't think they're doing that for 3 quarters if one of the guys is struggling. Like I
Well,
don't
they
think
didn't
it,
have any option last year.
that's what I'm
Ches
saying.
like Chesney said at the coach's caravan, he was like, "We had one quarterback last year." He was like,
Yeah.
"Dylan Morris after week 3 could not throw a football."
They just didn't have
They
options,
yeah,
which makes
so
me think that like if something's going awry that would take them out of the Sun Belt like title driver's seat or maybe out of playoff conversation, I wouldn't be shocked if they tried the other for a spark because I do really think they could make the playoff with either guy as their quarter. Like I think they're both that good.
yeah. So if you think the Weber State game goes poorly, we could see a 2023 version where Alonzo gets benched, McLeod comes in after one half, and then McLeod leads him to the promised land.
I could see that kind of switch. I think the other thing though is so interesting is like that Bucknell game was insane. They weren't able to move the ball. I just feel like they're too good at receiver this year and too deep at running back.
Well,
Like
do you think
just suck in the first game.
fair? Do you think with a long leash, it's the thing of like, okay, well, you had a bad half. Let's put in Cam. If Cam has a bad half, we're going to switch back to Sluka. And then, like, could
It
they
could
run
get
it
nuts. I
like that?
think I kind of think they would give a longer leash to Sluka, not necessarily like deserved, but just based on what they did last year with some of the Holy Cross guys.
Yeah.
Where like I keep bringing up Tyler Purdy. Tyler Purdy was a solid football player. I just felt like Joey Mallory had more like home run ability, and I just thought he's better, to be honest. So I thought he should have been played over Purdy. They kind of switched after Purdy got injured, and Mallory was pretty phenomenal. Purdy was never bad. He just didn't have like the same level of explosiveness. They seem to have a lot of trust in the Holy Cross guys, which
A
is
lot of
like
trust.
if they go Sluka, I do think it would be a longer leash. But also, like, if Cam Coleman beats out the guy they trust in Sluka,
He could have a
he's
long leash
probably
too.
he's probably gonna have a decent leash. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll have a long leash. The other thing with Coleman is like I think we both think there'd be a Sluka package. So like you don't necessarily need to bench him to get the spark because you already probably have that
Yeah.
package as like your spark.
Justin Reed asked, and this kind of piggybacks on Dom's question, do you expect the Weber State game to act as that final test to determine quarterback one, where the coaching staff's plan is for both Sluka and Coleman to take snaps? Or with Louisville being week 2, does the QB1 spot need to be 100% locked in before the Weber State game? I don't think they will use games as tests, especially with the Gardner Webb near debacle less than 365 days with this game. Like, they are not treating the Weber State game. I also don't think they should because of the history around this game,
Yeah.
everything. Like, you do not treat this as an FCS game. You treat this as a big boy Super Bowl. And the last time you treated an FCS game as a Super Bowl, you nearly freaking lost. So let's lock in. Don't treat this as a new scrimmage to see, oh, who really is going to be QB1. You got to have it locked in, especially then add in the fact that Louisville is week 2 and that ACC team is chomping at the bit. And if you want to be a college football playoff team, you damn near got to win that game in week 2.
Totally agree. And that's a Friday game, right? So, like, you know what I mean? If you were still picking, you would give then whoever you pick after that game a short week to prep
Yes,
for
as
a road
QB1.
ACC game where you have to travel. So that takes up some of your, what could have been practice time or rest or whatever. Yeah, I agree with you completely on that.
What should be the names? What should be the names though for us? The Sluka squad, Cam's collective.
I did like both of those
Those are
suggestions.
actually two fantastic suggestions from Tony Stazak.
Sluka Squad, Cam Collective. It's funny because they're two guys where like if the other didn't transfer in,
I'd be
I'd
like,
be
oh my
so
God,
on board with that person as the starter.
100%. I respect that, Cam is, a guy who puts his team first. He doesn't quit on his team when the money doesn't come through.
That's the other crazy thing, going back watching the Kansas game, which was the last game Sluka played before he then like opted out for the rest of the season because of the NIL dispute. The last drive is like the pass protection's not good. The receivers aren't getting open. It's basically just Sluka like scrambling and then jamming his head into people. Like his helmet's coming off late in the
Like
drive.
he probably will get injured this year.
His face is all red. That's where Coleman, like if Sluka is the guy, is an incredible backup policy because the way Sluka plays is like, how do you not constantly get hurt? But he's such a like aggressive, competitive runner that it was very funny for fans then to be like, this dude's just a soft quitter. It's like, well, have you watched any of him play?
I will say when it comes down to Camden and Sluka, I think like Sluka, when you look at just his 1 year at UNLV, it is not the full story. And I think the same can be said about Camden's 2 years at Richmond because he played in a very handcuffed run first offense that didn't open things up and fully utilize the talents of Camden Coleman. So if you're looking at just just his pure stats, nothing's going to jump off of the page with Camden. But when he was allowed to work with his talent, I mean, he busted off like a 75-yard run for a touchdown in one game. He's hitting Nick DeGennaro. Landon Ellis is his target. Like, he really grew well. And then on top of all of that, Richmond loves to do this thing, which I think a lot of FCS schools do. We can only play him 4 games. We got to maintain that red shirt. So coming into his freshman year, he was like QB3 on the depth chart. He battles his way to QB2. Kyle Wickersham goes down, and Cam has to play the end of the season, but he was never supposed to be the QB1 his freshman year. They wanted to use that red shirt. So then they had to burn the red shirt freshman year. And then sophomore year, Richmond was very much like, well, we still got Wickersham. Like, we don't want Cam to burn his red shirt. So it's going to be a QB competition, and we're going to give them both the chance. But like it felt like from an outsider's perspective, it was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, okay, if Cam is only like if Cam's like slightly better than Wickersham, we're going to go with Wickersham because we want that red shirt because Cam's growth can be a lot better down the road. So he was never really given a full offseason as QB1. Again, he's not getting a full season of offseason of QB1, but like at Richmond, he was never set up or helped for success. And I'm not trying to disparage the Richmond coaching staff because that's just the way kind of FCS works where they try to maintain those red shirts. But I think that's also a very big part of it. He was never fully prepared for success, in my opinion.
I think he would start at like 90% of group of five schools, like at least.
What was it? Rumors were Coastal was going in on him.
Which would make sense with the previous Myrtle connection.
And then when they changed their offensive coordinator or something, he re-entered the portal, and that's when JMU got involved. So he probably
He's
would have been the starter there.
he's exceptionally good. Like in the fact that he was able to have as much success as he did at Richmond, given those circumstances that you described, it's impressive. They're also both, I would say, like one of the issues last year is we were talking about like
And
or like Barnett's not a natural scrambler, and part of that's because his ankles didn't work. But like both these guys are very, very good at scrambling and extending plays.
so
Like they're both so good.
and if you look at his growth year over year, And I know it's only freshman year to sophomore
Way
year, but
better.
his growth is insane. Yards per attempt went up zero point 0.6 yards, which is quite a lot when you're looking at a yards per attempt thing. His turnover worthy plays went from 5.1% as a freshman to 2.4% as a sophomore. That would be the best year Sluka had by a pretty considerable margin. He doesn't necessarily go for the big time throws at the same rate Sluka does, but that I don't think is Camden's fault. I think that is more so the offense that he was playing in. They weren't asking him to have those deep, long field passes that take a while to set up. Because when you look at what he was doing down the field, he is, I mean, his best passing depth is middle medium yardage, so 10 to 20 yards. But just behind that, he is a damn good deep ball thrower at 84.4%, 84.4 PFF grade,
I think he got
which
like
is, mind you, better than what Sluka was last season and better than what Sluka was his final year at Holy Cross,
what was his final year at Holy Cross, like 82 or something?
83. So like marginally better, but
They
Sluka, but
both they both throw deep balls well. Nick DeGennaro and Isaiah Alston are incredible deep ball threats. Like whoever is the quarterback is going to hit a ton of deep balls this year. And I think the thing with like the big time throw for Coleman, where I'm going against my own Sluke argument a little bit here, is that like there were some where I think DeGennaro got so open where the throw was still perfect, but I don't think they were counting it as a big time throw because
yeah,
the window wasn't tight enough.
a big time throw just to for PFF people. It is a pass more than 20 air yards in a tight window. So
Yeah.
like what a big time throw is. Like when you see it, you go, "Whoa, what a throw!"
He had some that were like the windows were just bigger because like his receiver was cooking CAA defense, but that's not his fault. Like the throw was still exactly where it needed to be.
And
Sometimes he would extend plays to make the throw. He also had some, I think, that were like super nice that were like a little bit shorter, where some of his intermediate throws you'd see and be like, oh, he fit that in a nice window, but maybe it doesn't fall within like PFF's qualification of a big time throw.
yeah, so he only throws the ball deep. He only threw the ball 20 plus air yards 21.5% of the time. He threw it 10 yards or less 55% of the time last season at Richmond. So that's just the
Yeah.
nature of their offense was making him do it that way. And I mean, he was a dog. His adjusted completion percentage on passes 9 yards or less was about 87%.
Yeah, his adjusted completion percentage just overall is disgusting. It's like near 80%.
And so he is a very good passer of the football. And
Yeah.
like he kind of puts Sluka to shame in passing of the football, but his run grade is nowhere near what Matthew Sluka's is. Like Sluka is the second best, if not the best, rushing quarterback when you look at what he did at Holy Cross, specifically that 2021 season, an 85.6 PFF run grade, which is astronomically high. Camden Coleman's run grade was 67.9 last season at Richmond, which is still solid for a quarterback,
Yes.
but like I think the gap in Camden to Sluka passing wise is the same gap between Camden and Sluka rushing wise.
It's a fascinating competition. The other thing that's so weird about Sluka's UNLV is they were taking so many deep shots and they played the two Power Five defenses that were respectable. And their FCS game was against like Utah Tech. And their offensive scheme was like run the ball or just throw a deep go ball every time. Like they were going to Ricky White just throwing deep balls because it was like against Utah Tech corners. So it was just funny to watch that and see those stats because he's just hurling deep balls over and over and over. So his completion percentage in that game was like below 50%, but he had like 8 completions for a buck 60 and 3 touchdowns. Like it was just very silly that they were like, hey, we don't even need to mess around with anything else. Like let's just run it and then throw it as far as we possibly can, which like JMU is not going to have an absurd strategy like that, I wouldn't think.
40% of Sluka's passes last season, not a lot of attempts. He didn't have a lot of attempts in general, but 40% of his attempts were 20 air yards or more. And on average, it was a 33 and a half yard average depth of target. So 33 and a half yards away from the line of scrimmage on average for his deep balls, which is insane.
Yeah, I mean it was crazy. Like they had one of the strangest offensive strategies you'll ever see for like the first 3 games of a season.
So All that to say, question from Nicholas Freeman: who do you think it'll be?
I still think it'll be Sluka. I think the Holy Cross connection, the elite running, more experience, especially in FBS games. I think he gets the nod. But I do think it's going to be a an intense competition. I think Coleman has been slept on by the general JMU fan.
I said this at the live show of To the House at Three Notched, which was an exceptional experience. We hope to have a JMU Sports News, maybe To the House crossover live podcast at Three Notched in Harrisonburg sometime this football season. But that's more of a plug. I worry if Sluka is the quarterback that it will hamper Dean Kennedy's evolution as a play caller. And that's one of my bigger worries. Because I think we saw last year him struggle to sequence plays and grow as a play caller because it is such a different offense that you were calling between Sluka and, in case of last year, Alonzo Barnett. Like, those are two very different things. And I think Kennedy eventually started to develop and started to evolve as a play caller. And I worry that if he goes to Sluka here, it will give them a lot of success this year. Maybe a college football playoff. And I'm totally fine with that. And if that's the case, Chesney and Kennedy probably aren't here next
That's
year.
where I'm at, I think.
And therefore, this doesn't apply to us at all. But on the off chance that JMU slips up and has 2 or 3 losses and doesn't make the college football playoff, doesn't win the Sun Belt title, and Chesney and Kennedy are here next year, I worry that then they'd be kind of behind the 8 ball, and then we'd be back at square one trying to develop a new offense that fits a quarterback like Camden Coleman or Alonzo Barnett.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
That's
fair.
like that's my big brain like weird, not conspiracy theory, but like this is me reading way too much into it because at the end of the day, Dean Kennedy is a Division I FBS offensive coordinator who showed flashes last year of knowing how to be a very good play caller. There were other times though that his sequencing was a little weird. His script, his on script versus off script was very weird. And there were other things that I hope he develops in this offseason that I think if Sluka is the quarterback, he's not forced to come to grips with. And he
Yeah.
thinks things are great when in reality he just has an all world level quarterback
I
with
think
a
so.
weird skill set.
I
So
think they're going to get let off the hook because I think the receivers are going to get open more.
that's maybe this is the thing. Kennedy last year, he looked dumb a lot, and I don't think he was dumb. I think Cam Ross had bricks for hands.
He struggled. Ymir Knight was really good, but again, like Ymir Knight wasn't always getting open. Like he did a decent job getting open, but he was 5'8". He had some limitations there. And like Cam Ross had limitations. Taji Hudson, they brought him to media day, and then he was injured and didn't really do anything. Like they didn't have a
Who's Taji Hudson?
they they
He
didn't have a
he was an idea. I remember
the
him as an
quarterback, right?
idea. Yeah, yeah. I remember him as an idea, but don't really remember him as a player.
That's essentially what it became toward the end. They didn't, and like Dylan Williams, everyone hyped him up and like good young player, good prospect, but was not like a separation machine.
Honestly, none of them could hold a candle to my boy Marion Dollison. Just
Oh,
dog.
Dawson was one of the best at getting open.
Yeah, because he was just fast, and they said run, and he said okay.
So they weren't as consistent as they needed to be with getting open. And then I think Barnett struggled with the fact that his ankles didn't work very well, which like kind of checks out. You need your ankles to play football at quarterback. So it was a weird thing that I think some of it fell on Kennedy. I don't know if they adjusted the way they could have with some of those things, but I don't know. I think they're going to be okay either way. I've got some faith in them. We had a question from 83 Duke that was, does Coach Chesney or Dean Kennedy have any history of using a 2 quarterback system for a season similar to the bowl game offense? I don't believe so, but they did with Sluka because he's missed games here and there because he runs like directly into contact. They did have, I think it was like Joe Pasansky was their backup,
Yeah,
who was a passing quarterback who would come in occasionally for like a game or three when Sluka was dinged up, and they would still do decently. So I like if they have Sluka as the guy and then like Coleman as the elite level passing backup, I do think regardless of who starts, if one of them gets injured, they'd be able to pivot reasonably well to the other. I don't know if they'll do, I would be surprised if they did like a full two quarterbacks, 50% snaps each kind of thing, just because that would be extremely strange. And there's a reason why teams don't do that.
Yeah. Um, we got a question from a guy, Payday, Davion from the 410.
Mhm.
His profile picture is JC Evans. And he is a massive JC Evans fan because on June 1st, he posted on Twitter, well, the O's suck and football's about to start, so help me decide on a new profile picture. And all of them are pictures of JC Evans. So I don't know if JC's got a burner account or a really big fan out there in the 410. But he asked,
Relative?
maybe a relative, what are the chances Evans gets any use this year?
I don't, I think like almost -%. And I don't think that's even his fault. I just think they brought in two high level potential starters. If one of them gets injured, then maybe.
I think Evans uses this season because last year he can use last year as a red shirt because he didn't play 4 games. So he's a red shirt freshman. Use this season as a sponge and learn as much as you can from Sluka.
Yes.
Because if you learn as much as you can from Sluka and develop your arm a little bit, because the team was very clearly not confident in him passing the football in the Boca Raton Bowl, considering they called 0 pass plays for
Like chip into a
JC
pass.
because he audibled at the line into a pass. Soak up as much as you can from Sluka, and I think JC will. And then you are then battling with Camden and Alonza next year as that Sluka type, which big brain here in 2026. If Sluka's the guy that led him to the college football
Yeah.
playoff in 2025, that or JC's going with Kennedy and Chesney wherever they go.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to play this year, but he is, I don't know, he's probably the most overqualified like QB4 in college football, or at least the G5.
I don't know if he's the most overqualified, but
He's a good
he,
QB4 is probably a better way to word
if
it. He hasn't actually done that much to, he hasn't passed.
yeah,
That
exactly.
deserves it.
That's what I mean. Like I feel like there's some QB4s out there like that actually have game experience.
If he didn't have Sluka, I think there would have been a package for him running.
Yes, but unfortunately, I think Sluka usurps him.
Yeah,
You like that word?
I did. That was good.
Thank you. Um, okay, so anything else you want to add on the Camden Sluka debate?
Not a lot. I mean, I'm most excited I've ever been for a
Uh,
quarterback
that
competition.
we won't hear anything about.
Nah, we're not going to hear anything about it. I just think they're going to be a really good team. So I'm excited for this season. A lot of pressure, especially in September, some tough games, but they have lots of options at quarterback.
I hope if we hear nothing on the quarterback competition, we are told that they were not allowed to ask about it.
Yeah, want them to be clear that they're curious what's going on. But I do think
Because
there's probably value this year.
I
Uh,
don't. I still don't. I still think that is the biggest
yeah, that's
fake.
fair. That's fair because they play Weber State week 1,
Well,
especially.
well, not even that. Like even if they were playing Louisville week 1, I don't think it gives you a competitive advantage because a Louisville team is not stupid enough to sit there and be like, I think it's going to be Matthew Sluka, so we're going to prep everything for Matthew Sluka. They're going to do this. They're going to do equal amounts of prep for both.
But if you announce it, then would they only do one?
I mean, shoot, if you announce it, there's some gamesmanship in that too. Maybe they do that.
Maybe
Then
they're
you throw out
lying. Yeah,
Sluka week 1.
yeah, that's true.
Who's stopping you from announcing it and changing it?
That's that is true. You can say whatever you want.
That's my least favorite thing in all of sports. Because
I also
and
would like to know who it is, but maybe this one will go late. Maybe this one will be like a long competition.
I think this one will be the same as Alonza and Jordan McLeod when we didn't know until Alonza gets the graphic running out to take the first snap against Bucknell.
But Signetti claimed he won that one like on the second practice.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like this one might actually take him longer to decide,
I see what you
maybe.
mean. I see
But
what you mean.
also, you kind of want to decide whenever as soon as you're ready, so you can start to prep. Because I do think there'll be different offenses, right? Like
I do, yeah.
Coleman, you're trying to do different stuff. The good news with
I
Coleman,
don't think Coleman can run QB power 10 times a game like Sluka can.
no. The other thing with Coleman, though, that would be super cool in the run game is like he's such a capable runner, but not like a Sluka kind of like, oh, he's the running threat. That he would, if he's the starter, he would hit a team or two with just comical zone reads. where like a read option where like they all crash on the running back and he just has like 60 yards to go.
Well, that's what
Burnett
happened in
got,
like there was a Richmond run he had. It was like a
yeah.
75-yard touchdown run. They just crashed and he was like, okay.
So much of what he did last year in the running game was like some nice little scrambles, and then a lot of it was just like embarrassing edges who didn't follow their assignment. It was good stuff.
And then the edge is going to have to decide, do I want to tackle 500-pound Joby Mallory who runs a 4.4, or do I want to crash out? You're like, it's going to be fun. Man, if Joby's running back one, I'm going to go crazy.
Can you imagine a short yardage package with Sluka in there to the left of Cam Coleman? Coleman's a quarterback.
No, you
Joby's
put Sluka at the quarterback if you're doing the tush push.
no, not even a tush push.
Oh,
Just you just hand it around, whoever, whichever one wants
hot
it.
potato.
Little hot potato action, yeah.
Well, then you got to hope the offensive line doesn't get blown up.
A lot of the teams actually gonna like like we're talking about the quarterback. If the offensive line is good, whoever's there is gonna cook. If the offensive line ends up having like a down year from what we expect, it's gonna be a lot dicier than
If the offensive line is worse than we expect, give me Sluka because he can just run. Like,
yeah.
just avoid it. Although Camden is very good under pressure.
They're both he was better last year against the blitz than he was unblitzed. He was pretty good when he wasn't facing pressure. Just unbelievable stuff from him.
Okay, a couple questions
Yeah,
not involving the
quarterback.
quarterback situation. Where is it? Not QB related. This is from Rom H. Tonis, Masters in Library Sciences. Not QB related, but some reporting outlets are high on JMU this season and some aren't. Obviously, the JMU community knows and pays attention more about our players and team than most do. How much of the hype this year for us is real, and how much do you think is our own gassing up?
It's such a good question. I think it's
Go
pretty real
ahead.
though. I think it's pretty real.
I think it's pretty real. They brought in like they brought in a year removed from one of the most sought after transfer quarterbacks.
Right?
They also, I mean, the continuity along the offensive line is pretty damn impressive.
Hmm.
They've gotten some of the guys back healthy. They have guys who took a ton of snaps last year as well. So the offensive line on paper should be very good, maybe better than last year's unit. The wide receivers have all CAA choices in DeGeneiro and Landon Ellis. Jalen Sanchez was elite in the slot. I mean, Dylan Williams, there's hype around every year. There's insane hype around Mikey Playstick Scott,
Isaiah
Joystick.
Austin's like 6'6".
Isaiah Alston is nasty, and when he was at Army, averaged 100 yards per catch. He only had two of them, but still.
They got Smoke, who's very similar in terms of like anytime he touched the ball at D2 Tusculum, it was like a 40-yard play.
So they have a very nice transfer class, which gives them a lot of hope in today's college football world. If you're a G5 and you have a good transfer class, there's going to be a lot of hype around you. And with a second year coaching staff,
Yep.
hopefully they figured out what went wrong in that 4-4 finish to the year. Technically 5-4 if we count the bowl game. So I think the hype is real. What's your running back depth chart look like?
I need to hear yours first. This will be good.
The AJ finishes it with, I think Io is a running back 3 or 4 ATP.
Hmm.
What is ATP at this point? At this point.
Good job. That's fun. Fun to witness that.
All right, running back 1, Joby.
Yep.
Running back 2, Joby.
Yep.
Running back 3, Joby. Running back 4, Joby or Jordan Fuller. No, I think legitimately, I think Io is running back 1. I think Joby is running back 2. I think George Pettaway. I think it's Io 1, Joby or Pettaway 2, Wayne Knight 4, and Jordan Fuller 5.
I don't know. Like I have no idea.
Now,
They
ask
have
me
too many
next week.
running backs.
Ask me next week. That's probably going to be a different lot breakdown.
They have too many running backs.
They do. Look,
I know he wanted depth at running back, but like
I didn't want a full freaking stable.
there's five who could conceivably get care. Like, I don't know how they're going to split it up. Maybe you stick Wayne Knight more like in the slot.
Maybe, but Wayne Knight may enter the transfer portal again midway through the season.
Maybe he's more like kick return specials, gadget plays. Pet, imagine if Petaway this year though, like doesn't get caught by his shoelaces like 3 times a game. Like you
I,
have the best running, they're going to be the best running team in the country. They're going to be
and
like
they
a
have,
service academy.
and then they have freaking DeGennaro, Ellis, Williams, Sanchez, Alston, uh, Zeron, Wisnowski. I'm mispronouncing his name. I don't think his last name's Wisnowski,
I think it's Wisłowski with an
but
L.
he's not on the roster yet because he was a spring. They haven't added
Yeah.
the spring guys yet. I mean, I've said this before on Talking Dukes. I'm worried about how they're going to manage ego
Yeah.
because, like, a coach can tell us, and if you ask a coach, I can guarantee you what they're going to say. This team's about winning, and these are guys that are, we recruited guys of the utmost character who just want to put the team first and win. Yeah, that's a lot different when you're 4-4 down the stretch and you've only gotten one target over the last 3 games. How does that work?
Even if you're like, winning.
Yeah,
It's like, well, feed me, man. Or if like you're in a tight game and like when they go to you, it's going well, but half the game they're going to someone else. It's
and
like,
it's not going well.
yeah, hey dog,
Like
feed me,
ULM, your one catch was a touchdown. The rest of the game, they didn't look your way, and your offense is
right?
doing nothing. Like in
It's
the
gonna be
locker room,
it's gonna be fascinating because they have too much competence.
and if the offensive line isn't as good as we hope or expect, all of this could be for nothing.
Then it's gonna be just unhinged with how it looks, I think. Because it's like when they protect for a second, it's gonna be incredible. And then when they don't, it's gonna be like that guy was wide open, he missed him because he got sacked or something. So it's gonna be a crazy season. I think they have one of the best teams on paper that they've had in recent years. It's right up there with 2023. Although I also thought last year's roster was kind of stacked. And I feel like they got like as little out of that as they could have. They blew like 3 double-digit leads and they went 9-4.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
yeah,
they probably should have won at least 10, but realistically could have went like
11 and
11-2, 12-1,
12-1.
and then you're maybe in a Sun Belt championship 13-1 because
I mean,
Marshall
I mean,
won that
not
by 100
you
and their
had a
coach was out the door. Like
you had a lead in every game you lost, right?
I think Georgia Southern was one they just laid an egg,
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so yeah, we'll take 12-1 then.
but his ankles didn't work.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you got to add?
That's all I got.
Women's basketball did add a transfer,
Yes,
so try to get some founding father stuff going on JMU Sports News as well.
we absolutely will. We'll have more coverage throughout the summer, folks. Stay tuned. I got some golf ideas I'm cooking with as well.
If they give us access. Sorry, that was rude. All right, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk to you next week, potentially. It's summer, so we go to like the bi-weekly/weekly schedule when we feel like it. But stay with us. Follow us on JMU Sports News on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also check us out with our home on the web, jmusportsnews.com. And wherever you're listening, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or YouTube, be sure to subscribe, like, rate. We would appreciate any ratings. If you have a great rating, if you drop us a good rating on Apple Podcasts, hit the 5 stars and then you can write a little review.
Yes.
We'll read the funny ones on here because we love the good ones. And if you write a bad one for us, please don't. But if it's funny enough, we will. Richie Goodman, we're currently planning a meetup with Richie.
A live
Not sure
pod with him, yeah.
live pod with Richie. So stay tuned with that. You can stay up to date at JMU Sports News. So like, rate, subscribe, do all of that fun stuff. We'll be back eventually with more JMU Sports News podcast. Until then, that's Bennett Conlon. I'm Jack Fitzpatrick. Have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya.